Thanks for spending some time with material management today. What we want to cover in this video are the tips and tricks and the pro tips in order to make sure that as a distributor, you can make sure that the electronic information arrives at your contractor. The point of this is to make buying more easy and in order to eliminate a lot of the wasteful steps. Most of you understand that a contractor, from the time that they give you a purchase order, and it doesn't matter how they give you the purchase order, it could be fax machine, smoke signal, cell phone, text message, doesn't matter. Contractors are notorious for giving you a lot or having a lot of different methods in order to get the purchase order over to you, but there's only a few ways for you to get that purchase order information as the committed cost back to the contractor. So what is material management? Material management is a solution provider to many of your customers. And what we do is we act as the shock absorber in the middle. We help a lot of different contractors and a lot of different vendors and distributors in order to provide information electronically. As you know, most of your contractors, they're going to give you a purchase order. You're going to key that purchase order into your ERP system, whether it's Eclipse, Infor, P21. There's a lot of different varieties of systems out there. But when your contractor receives back the purchase order acknowledgement, they're manually keying that data into their accounting system. And then when they receive it, a lot of times they're manually keying in data from a receiving standpoint. And then when the invoice comes, they're typing that information in again. What that means for the contractor is they've typed the information sometimes 2, 3, or 4 different times, and they don't always get it right. And so we want to make sure that we give the best information to the contractor on what their committed cost is. So how do we go about doing that? Well, the main goal is to get the purchase order acknowledgement back to them. Oftentimes this comes in the form of a PDF as far as what the end user sees, but there are a lot of different options in terms of making sure that they see all of the items. We'll talk a little bit about the methods of delivery in a moment, and we'll talk about how you can get information electronically over to the contractor. But the main thing that you need to know is that when you're entering data into your ERP system, that this is your one chance to give electronic information over to the contractor so that they know what their committed cost is. So we have a few rules to live by. The number one thing is the contractor wants to know what's been purchased. So never add, edit, or change a sales order once you release it. Depending on your system, maybe it's in a bid status, and once it goes from a bid status to an accepted status, regardless of how your ERP works, we want to make sure that you're never adding, editing, or changing a sales order once it's been committed. This causes a lot of problems. Here's a scenario. Guy drives up in a truck, says, hey, here's my PO number. I need 5 things. He gets back to his truck and he says, oh gosh, I forgot some stuff. Hey, can you add that onto the order? And the best solution is to just write a new order. It doesn't really take too much more time. And the simple fact is that by having that committed cost information up front and sending it as individual units of sales orders, you're going to grease the wheels of commerce here. And you're going to make sure that items aren't missed when they load it in, because a lot of your systems, they're not going to let you add or edit that sales order once it's been released. So you'll definitely want to make sure that when in doubt, create a new sales order. Always include all items on the sales order regardless of stock status. We know back orders are a big problem. We understand that. However, you need to make sure that all items are on the sales order regardless of your stock status. So even if you have a back order, write the whole order up. Go back in and edit the release date later if necessary, but this is your one chance to make sure that you're getting all items on there. One of the number one problems that we have are people that go in and touch those orders multiple different times, create lots of different generations, and those generations don't make it back to the contractor. And so they get an invoice and they say, hey, look, here's a bunch of items that aren't on the PO. This is an easy fix for that. So always include all items on the sales order, regardless of stock status. Never reuse a sales order number. This one is so gosh darn important and goes back to the never add, edit, or change a sales order. We want to make sure that the sales orders are unique for each purchase order that they've done. And always ask if it's okay to reuse a PO number. Some of your contractor systems can't actually accept a purchase order more than one time. So it's best to just know what the customer is, meet them where they're at, and don't reuse a PO number unless they've asked you to. Some advanced tips: holding an order back. You can hold an order back by putting in the PO field the MMI hold. Now, MMI is the Material Management Interface hold, and we'll know not to send that to the contractor. Once you get the PO number set up, then you can go ahead and put the correct PO number in there, off it goes. For releases, again, similar to all items on the sales order, but when you have a release, we want to make sure that all items are reflected on the order up front, and then you change it to a different status. One of the things that we've seen with Eclipse is using the status of call when complete helps an awful lot. All items, remember, this is the one shot to tell the customer what their committed cost is, so always include those items. Those of you that are using Eclipse Job Management, just know, and you probably know this, that not all of the items are going to flow, especially unquoted items. So they're just going to get a lump sum, and that's as good as it's going to get right there. We do have some tools around that, and we can talk about that if you're interested. And MMS is here to help. We do have a vendor portal that you can have access to see what your customer can see. We also can send you daily, nightly reports that tell you exactly what's come across. And when in doubt, contact us. You can write us at any point in time at material management, at support@materialmanagementinc.com. You can also call our 1-800 number and get some assistance with your order if necessary in terms of what the contractor is going to see. The telephone number is 1-800-590-1300. PDFs, those are the #1 problems, especially for invoices. So please make sure that the invoice PDF emails are copied to invoice1@west.materialmanagementinc.com, or else the AP side, they may get the data, but they won't get the PDF. They flow down 2 different paths. So some different connection types. Those of you that are Eclipse users, many of you use the Material Management Interface module that goes in the back of Eclipse, and that transmits nightly at 8 p.m. So you actually have a little bit of extra bonus time there that if you need to do something on the sales order, you actually can. EDI, just a fancy way of saying I'm going to send it electronically. PDFs aren't electronic documents. They're human readable documents. EDI is just machine to machine information. And there's a lot of different types of EDI. Many of your ERP systems do perform EDI, and we can connect electronically that way. Some ERP systems, they can only send outbound reports. So we have what we call a flat file, and it's basically a report that comes on a nightly basis to record all of the information happening. The last resort is a PDF, is that we can at times consume information from the PDF. If this is an option for your ERP, then let's talk about that. So if the ERP can't do anything else, it probably can send a PDF as long as it has a few key pieces of information like an item code or a UPC, description, price, quantity, unit of measurement, and then finally a PO number in the header. Those are the minimum pieces of information that a PDF is going to have in order for us to make it usable. Finally, for those of you that are using BillTrust, always make sure the PDFs are set to 1 invoice per file, and that the email for material management, again, that is invoice1@west.materialmanagementinc.com. Make sure that that's set, please. Why are we doing this? It really comes down to it's all about labor. You guys are busy, the contractors are busy, you want to sell, they want to buy. And all of that, those transactions, they take a huge amount of time. So it really comes down to eliminating manual data entry, because it obviously creates wild inefficiencies from a typing perspective, but it also creates data error issues. This is a better way to get all of your data sent across. And we also have a lot of other tools that help make the buying process easier, and we can customize these based on the contractor's ERP. So this isn't always about the contractor, it's also about the distributor or the vendor as well, because you want to make sure that your information is there, and we want to try and help the contractor pay you faster. So in addition to fewer manual data entry errors, you're also, in theory, going to be able to get paid faster. That's a win for the whole industry. Finally, where are the distributors at? This is a simple chart that shows who's participating today. Hopefully this has been useful, that we've gone through some of the tips and tricks. on how to better communicate electronic orders, invoices, quotes, and other document types to your contractor. Thanks for listening.